Hi guys, in today's video I'll show you how to make this beautiful cowl neck dress. So I'm going to be using this pattern paper to draft out my cowl neck. So the first step you need to take is to get your basic dress pattern. So I marked 1 inch from the upper part. My pattern paper has been folded in two, don't forget that. And on the shoulder point, I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 7.5. I'm going to mark my bust line down from the shoulder measurement, which is 7.5 as well. And I'm going to connect that point from the upper part, my shoulder line. And I'm going to also measure from that side to the bust line so I can get an accurate straight line. So from the shoulder line, I'm going to mark my bust point line, which is 10 inches, my waist line 16 inches, my hip line, which is 22 inches, and then the full length I want to work with for this dress. And I'm going to connect the lines the points I just made into a straight line. So I'm just going to label what each line is for. I have my bust point line, waist line, hip line, and the rest. On the bust line, I'm going to mark my bust measurement divided by 4, and I'm just going to connect the line to meet it. And I'm going to divide the armhole line into 2, and I'll mark that. And I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to connect. This is how to get the front armhole for your dress. So I'm just going to connect that right here. So on the waistline, I'm going to mark my waist measurement divided by 4. On the hip line, I'll mark my hip measurement divided by 4 as well. And I'm going to connect from the bust line to the waistline and down to the hip line, just like this. And whatever I have on my hip line, I'm going to minus 1.5 inches from the measurements and then mark on the full length of the dress. And I'm just going to smoothen out the sharp edges I have on my pattern, okay? And now I'm going to mark the neck depth of 3 inches for the front and the back, 1 inch, and a neck width of 3 inches, just to get the neck of our dress. You may decide to skip this part because you don't need it, but I'm just getting the basic dress pattern for you. On the shoulder line, I'm just going to mark my shoulder slope. Don't forget your shoulder slope. I marked 1 inch. You can use 1/2 inch if you want. So after that, the next step is to add seam allowance all around the pattern. So I'm just adding 1/2 inch seam allowance on my basic dress pattern, and I'm going to connect all the points I have marked down to the hem line of my dress. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is to modify this pattern a little bit because of the cowl neck. Okay, so from the bust line, I'm just marking 4 inches upwards, and I'm just going to connect that into a straight line. So now we are going to, after doing that, I'll just cut out on that 4 inches that I marked, and I'm just going to cut from the front armhole like so. So this is basically your basic dress pattern. This is how you draft your basic dress pattern. The only difference is the mark we came up by 4 inches on the bust line, just because we are making a cowl neck. So the next thing you want to do is to fold it in on the bust line like so. Next step is to cut our back dress. So to cut the back, you fold on that bust line the way I just folded it in, like so, and you're going to fold your fabric into 2 and place this on it. Place the basic bodice you just did, basic dress pattern you just made, on your fabric folded into 2. The next thing I want to do is to add 1 inch for the zipper allowance. Remember that we did not add any zipper allowance for the pattern because we are going to use this pattern for both the front and the back. So what I'm doing is just to add my 1 inch zipper allowance on the back of this dress. So I'm just going to pin this down so that it doesn't move when I'm cutting, after adding my 1-inch zipper allowance. So after adding the zipper allowance, I'm just going to cut this out. Make sure you pin it down so it doesn't move. So I'm just going to remove it, and this is what I have for the back pattern. You can see the next thing you want to do, the next step is to modify the back pattern to suit your preference. What I did was to mark 4 inches downwards because I want the back to be low. You saw it on the dress already. So if you do not want yours to be low, you don't need to do this, or depending on how low you want it. Here I marked out 4 inches for mine. And I'm just going to cut that out. After that, I'll just slit the back pattern into 2, giving us the 2 patterns we have for the back. So this process totally depends on you. You can decide how you want the back to look. I just wanted mine to be deep. Okay, so the next step is for us to cut on that bust line. You're going to slit it. Make sure it doesn't cut it out. We are trying to modify this pattern to get the front cowl neck, to get the cowl neck for the front pattern of our dress. So I just cut on that bust line, and I'm just going to spread that place I slashed. Make sure you don't cut it out. Okay, so the wider you go, the deeper your cowl neck dress. You saw how my cowl neck is, and what I only spread mine by 3 inches. You can decide to do 2 inches, and you can decide to do more than that, but the higher the number, the more the lower the neckline of your cowl neck will be. Okay, so I just did 3 inches, and I'm going to write it down so you see what I'm doing. 3 inches, and on that upper part I'm just going to connect the point, straight line like this, to the edge of the pattern paper like this, and I'm just going to trace out the armhole on the fresh pattern paper I added underneath this, my main pattern paper, and I'll just cut it out. So this is basically it for your cowl neck. The cowl neck is ready. What we want to do next is to go ahead and cut, okay, on the main fabric. So I'm just going to place this. I folded my main fabric into 2, and I just placed it on it like this. I placed my basic bodice with the cowl neck on it, and I'm just going to cut it out just the way I'm doing here. It's very, very simple. Okay, so this is the front pattern of our dress. So we are done with the pattern, and this is what the front panel look like. Okay, so you see the extension we made on the upper part. So now the next thing you want to do is to cut an interfacing for both the front and the back. So I just folded an extra fabric into 2, and I placed the upper part of my front dress on it like so. Make sure that the armhole is matching, and I'm just going to cut it out. So this is what I'll be using for the interfacing. I'll just hem the lower part like that, and I'm going to place it right side facing, and then I'll stitch, but not yet. So now I'm just going to cut out the back interfacing as well. My fabric is also folded into 2, and I just placed the back piece on it like so, and I'll cut it out. So now I have the 2 interfacing for both the back pieces. What I did next was to cut out a long strap. This is measuring 21.5 inches with by 2.5. so I just stitched it together, like I just used it to make a strap for the dress, and I'm just showing you how I turned it inside out. You can use whichever method that is very comfortable for you, but that is what I used to turn it out. After turning it, this is what I have. The next step is for us to attach the interfacing to our dress. Okay, so this is the strap I made. I'm just placing it by the side of my dress, and I'm leaving about 1/2 inch by the side. Remember to leave 1/2 inch by the side where you will stitch your fabric together. So just shift your strap and then pin it to the front and pin the interfacing to your dress as well as the strap So it's just very easy. This is what I'm doing. I put the strap and then I placed the interfacing on it, and I'm just going to go ahead and stitch this on my sewing machine. Okay, and I'm still going to, you notice I've not hemmed the lower part of the interfacing. I'll do that. If you have an overlocking machine, you can just overlock yours. I did the same thing for the back. I just used the interfacing to turn out the back pattern as well. Okay, so next I'm just going to close the zip allowance of the back. That means I'm just putting the two back pieces together. As you can see, the back pieces have been stitched together. We are almost done with this dress. So this is the back piece already stitched together, and I'm just going to bring the front to show you. I have also done the same thing, attached the strap, and I also turned it inside out with the interfacing. Okay, the next step is for us to put the front and the back piece together. Okay, I'm just placing this. I'm going to place the back panel on the front. Make sure that the two sides match on the armhole side. Okay, as you can see, mine is matching right here. So the next thing I did was to measure from the middle. I marked 4 inches on the two sides from the middle. That's where I want to put my crisscross back. Okay, so I just opened that point and I'm going to put the strap right inside that opening I made. Remember that I said I marked 4 inches from the middle. That's from the zipper part. I marked 4 inches on the both parts. That's where the strap is going to start from. Okay, so what you want to do as well is to make sure that the two straps are equal. So just measure it, and you need to take your measurement to get this. For mine, I think it was about 17 inches. Okay, I didn't get to use everything I cut out the first time. I had to reduce it. So make sure they are both equal so that the two straps will balance at the back when you eventually do that, when you eventually wear your dress. So I just pinned the strap into the back of the dress, and I'm just going to take it to the sewing machine. The next step is for us to hem the lower part of our dress and then stitch the strap at the back, and voila, the dress is ready. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching. Until I see you again in my next video, bye.